everyone, and a lovely warm welcome to all of our learners here at Kaplan. We also have a very special guest with us today, so if everyone could just say hello to Philippa. We have Philippa Sheridan. So hi Philippa, how are you doing?
Hi, yeah, very well, thank you.
Great. So it's lovely to have Philippa here. For anyone that doesn't know Philippa, I'm sure we all do, but Philippa is one of our highly experienced tutors at Kaplan. But in her spare time, she also very, very kindly volunteers her support to a very special organisation, which she's going to talk to us about very, very shortly. So I won't give too much away. I'll let Philippa do all the talking on that very soon. And the reason that we've got Philippa here today is for you. So it's for our learners, and it's to discuss what is quite a sensitive issue, but also an extremely important issue and topic that is facing our society today, which is mental health concerns. So particularly with the pandemic and this whole change of our learners having to study online, and just a new way of working, a new way of life, we thought it would be a nice idea to have a nice informal chat and talk through how we can support you, as well as some other great external organisations to support you as well. To get some ideas as to how can we improve our mental state and well-being for our learners, and who can they reach out to and get support from when they need it the most, in particularly a challenging time like this. Okay, does that sound great?
That sounds excellent.
Okay, awesome. So I guess we'll get started with our first question then. So my first question for you is, so what actually is Shout?
So Shout is a free confidential texting service that's available 24/7, and it was set up to help, designed to help with anyone who is essentially struggling to cope with whatever it might be that's going on in their lives. Anyone's able to text Shout, they text 85258. So straight down the middle of your keypad at any time. And when you text, you'll be connected with a trained volunteer. They are there to listen to whatever it is that you're experiencing and to support you in a non-judgmental manner. There's lots of different reasons why people do get in touch with us, and we're there to support any type of personal mental health concern that you might have. A few examples of why we do have texters get in touch with us: due to stress, anxiety, feeling isolated or lonely. We also have other concerns such as sexual identity, substance misuse, bullying, self-harm, depression, or suicide.
Okay, so a really vast range of issues that they can help with there. I think that will be extremely useful for our learners. So, I mean, I think we'll also all be very, very interested then in, so that's what Shout is, but what does your role actually entail then as a Shout volunteer, and how long have you been doing the role?
So Shout was launched back in May 2019. It got undergone a bit of a pilot scheme before that, and then I completed my initial training in October of that year. So it normally takes a couple of months to complete your initial training, and I've been volunteering ever since. As a volunteer, we book shifts that suit our lives based around, other commitments like work and family. When I'm doing a shift, then I'll log on to the system. So whilst it's a texting system, I'll be doing it via a computer or a desktop. And my typical shifts are kind of 2 to 3 hours each. During a shift, I'll be connected with a texter who has text in at that point while I'm on shift, and we will chat and discuss if there's anything we can do to support them. During the conversations that we have, we are there to listen, to try and help the texter work out, what steps could they take in that moment to help them feel calmer or safer about their situation. And then we could also start to think about the more long-term support as well. And we might be able to provide some external resources if it's appropriate for the situation.
Wow, okay. That sounds pretty amazing, to be honest, and extremely rewarding. So I guess that leads to my next question: what actually made you want to become a volunteer for Shout?
So I guess kind of answering this question slightly backwards. So in hindsight, I now know that over half of our texters, about 55% of our texters, say that they contact us because they don't have anyone else that they feel they can talk to. I think I'm very fortunate that I've never felt quite that isolated, but I know quite a few people who have, and I want to be there and help in those kind of situations. So I feel that if I can just be there for one or two people a week who are feeling like that, then it's worthwhile doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, even if you can just help one person,
Exactly.
probably helping that one person, then you can then help, 5, 10 more others. So it's a massive.
Yeah, precisely.
It's amazing. It's great. So quite a sensitive issue, really. But do you or someone you know perhaps have mental health conditions, or do you know anybody that's experienced a mental health condition before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably if you asked anyone this question, certainly at the moment, even if they don't realize it, the answer would be probably yes. So I've known many people, both personally and professionally, who've experienced mental health conditions. Some are more long-term ones that they are managing, and some can be shorter ones triggered by a particular kind of event that's happened. The NHS estimates that 1 in 4 adults will experience a mental illness at some point in their life. So it's very likely that anyone you speak to either is experiencing a mental health condition themselves or knows someone who is.
Yeah, I think, and as you say, especially now
Yeah.
during the pandemic, I feel like that number is probably sadly going to be growing. So it's definitely something you need to look out for.
Absolutely.
If this is such a grave concern now, then I think some of our learners and even ourselves as tutors will really need to know what do you think are the key telltale signs for actually then spotting somebody with a mental health concern. So what do you think we need to be looking out for here to help support?
Yeah, now of course it differs depending on the person. Everyone is a little bit different, but I'd say that one of the main kind of telltale signs is just any changes in behavior. We do get some texts sometimes that we'd refer to as third party. So they are texting on behalf of someone else that they're concerned about. And more often than not, it is any kind of change in the normal behavior of that person that has alerted them. Now, I think the kind of picture of that, I guess, would be someone retreating, becoming more quiet, less sociable. But it obviously does not have to be that. So I'd say for anyone, if they are concerned about a friend or a family member, or they're not sure what to look out for, then yeah, any changes in behavior would be kind of the main signal for me to keep checking in and seeing whether there is anything you can do to help. Unfortunately, sometimes people feel ashamed that they are struggling, so hide it very well, or maybe even themselves don't realize that they are having difficulties.
Yeah, I think that could be probably one of the more toughest areas, couldn't it? And like you say, sometimes people, when we think about mental health, sometimes people assume, oh, a lot of people seem more withdrawn, or they go into depression or something. But as you say, actually, it could be the other way around. Sometimes people act out, and they become a lot more vocal, perhaps. So it's just anything that's opposite to perhaps what they're used to.
Precisely.
It's really interesting. So once we've spotted that there is a potential concern here, or somebody's struggling to cope, what approach would you think is the best to take with somebody that is experiencing this mental health concern?
Yeah, so if you've just found that you are concerned about a friend or a family member, I'd say kind of one of the most important pieces of advice that I can give is to try and meet the person where they are. Naturally, as we care about the people that we love, it's very natural to want to find a fix, to try and find a way to fix whatever it is that your loved one is experiencing. Often it's not quite as simple as just finding a fix. And especially sometimes it might be that your friend or your family member can't see a way for this to be resolved. So if you go in there with loads of solutions, it may be that they just kind of get rejected. Now, again, I'm not speaking for everyone. It is going to be different for each individual person. But overall, try and meet them where they are. If they want a solution, then that's brilliant. You can offer any kind of advice or suggestions that you might like, but don't feel rejected if that's not what they want. Contrary to, I guess, the stigma attached to mental health, talking about mental health conditions absolutely doesn't make them worse. So don't be afraid to ask. Ask your friend, ask your family member, you know, if there is anything that you can do to help, if there's any support they'd like, if they just want to chat or have a moan, or just be distracted. I know at the moment there's limited things that we're able to do, but you know, sometimes just going for a walk, we're allowed to go for a walk with one other person, can be really beneficial. So even if the answer is no, they don't want any support, they don't want any assistance right now, try and remember it's not about you, so don't take it personally. And keep asking, because later down the line the answer might change.
Yeah, I think that is, sometimes you can fall into that trap a little bit. You can think you're trying to be the savior.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not about you, you know, as you say, and you shouldn't feel offended if they reject your support. Sometimes people just need to do it at their own pace.
Absolutely. I mean, the analogy, you know, is, you know, if a friend breaks their leg, unless you're in the right profession, you're not going to go in there with a solution of how to fix their leg and make the bones fuse back together. That's just not going to be something that you would suggest, but you might suggest, oh, you know, can I do some shopping for you or something like that? And it's the same idea with mental health conditions as well.
Massively, yeah. Well, I guess so, bringing it down to making it more applicable to our learners then, because our learners at Kaplan are the heart of everything that we do here.
Of course, yeah.
So is there any general advice that you can give based on your experience of being a volunteer now at Shout, and just general life experience that you've got? Any advice you can give to our students who are perhaps currently struggling with some mental health concerns, or maybe, you know, with dealing with this whole live online delivery during the pandemic and so on? Is there any general thoughts you can give there?
Yeah, I would definitely say to try and build up a toolkit of things that you find help yourself when you are particularly struggling. Write them down if necessary. It's absolutely fine to have something to refer back to. When we are having days or longer periods of time where we are really struggling, it can be very difficult to think of anything that might help. Everyone's different, but you know, some simple examples might be things like going for a walk, phoning a friend and having a chat, or alternatively turning your phone off. Our phones can often be big distractors from what we're trying to do with our day, and not always in a positive way. So even if you don't want to turn your phone off completely, it might be taking a break from particular apps like the news. The news has not been a particularly positive thing to listen to over the last year. It might be turning social media off for a few days. And again, accepting that none of those are going to necessarily fix anything that you're facing, but they can help there and then. Again, just bringing it back to kind of comparing the mental health side to the physical health, it's important to try and ensure you look after yourself on a day-to-day basis, rather than waiting for things to kind of get too bad and out of control. But if you feel too deep in and you think, do you know what, I can't use this toolkit, I can't think of anything that is going to help me right now today, that's okay too. It's absolutely fine to feel like that. If you do feel able, then do reach out to someone that you trust. That might be a friend, that might be a family member. It could be someone, a stranger like Shout using our services, or it could be your GP.
All amazing resources and amazing support networks that we've got there. Also, remember at Kaplan as well, we do actually have our dedicated safeguarding team as well, which is available for your support if it's needed for our learners. So yes, we will post the link to all of our wellbeing support contact lists from Philippa. We'll post some details about Shout and of course the safeguarding inbox as well after the session. So I think we've kind of talked about this throughout most of our discussion, but just to kind of round things up a little bit, I guess. In terms of the pandemic, because I think that is, as we know, the biggest sort of challenge that we've currently got at this stage. What do you think are the major causes of mental health concerns today, like
Yeah.
over almost a year. It's pretty crazy that it's been this long.
I know. Yeah.
So,
So I think there's really kind of two types of mental health concerns. So there's one type which often can seem, there's no explanation, there's no cause, there's not been any kind of trigger to cause those mental health concerns. And then there's the other type of mental health concern where there has been something that's kind of triggered it. And I would say certainly that second type at the moment, we're seeing a lot of with our texters due to the global pandemic. We've seen a large increase in the number of texters. Some of them are directly related concerns, so concerns over ill loved ones, feeling isolated, boredom, financial concerns. So we've seen a large increase in those kind of discussions that we've been having. Others are more indirect. So as I'm sure a lot of our students at Kaplan will relate to, a lot of people who are studying for exams at whatever level it might be have been struggling with the experience of trying to study at home, found the experience to be a lot more stressful due to uncertainties that they're facing, whether an exam is going to be able to go ahead, where they're going to be able to sit it, lack of motivation, lack of a routine as well. And for a lot of our learners, I think a study environment that doesn't lend itself well to studying, whether that be a small place that you're living in, whether that be a slightly crowded place or a noisy place. And I think all of those combine to make studying, especially at the moment, a very difficult thing to do. It is completely possible, but it does mean that you have extra challenges to kind of face as well. Just over half, I think it's 54% of the conversations that Shout have had in the last year, which have mentioned COVID-19, have also been anxiety related. So I think that is one of the major concerns over the last year for us.
I mean, it's a crazy statistic, isn't it? And something that we need to try and help with as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess then how can students get in touch if they need to reach out and get that support from Shout? Where do you guys come in then?
So whenever you want to speak to Shout, you can text us. So on your phone, not WhatsApp or anything like that, but just good old text, 85258. We are open 24/7. It's free from all major networks and it won't appear on your phone bill. So if that's a concern, maybe someone else is paying for your phone bill and you don't want them to see, then it won't appear on the phone bill. Once you've texted in, we will you'll get a kind of automatic reply to show that you have been registered on the system, and we aim to get a trained volunteer connected with you within about 5 minutes.
Wow.
Sometimes peak time, which tends to be late at night, it may take a little bit longer, but yeah, that is our aim.
Oh wow, okay, it sounds like an amazing service. So I guess any final pieces of advice you can give to our students then before we round up for the day?
Yeah, I would say it goes back to the toolkit I mentioned earlier. I mentioned going for a walk, turning your phone off, and do you know what? Those things might be good for you and they might not. You might think, no, I hate all of that, Philippa. I would much prefer to go and kick a football around, or I'd much prefer to do some baking or watch a film. It doesn't matter what it is. But when you're feeling well, if you're watching this video thinking that seems like a good idea, maybe just take a minute or two now. Note what it is that helps you feel yourself, helps you feel grounded. Write it down and keep it somewhere that you can refer back to when you're struggling. Try and take time for yourself, look after yourself. There's so much that we try to fit into our lives, even in this strange time at the moment, and try and do one thing each day that is going to be good for your mental health. Think of it just the same as you might think about exercising, for example. Don't be afraid to reach out for support, though, if you need it. Reaching out for support is a sign of strength rather than a sign of weakness.
Absolutely. I think there is a massive stigma there to say, oh, you probably feel ashamed or embarrassed to do it, but there is absolutely no shame in it at all.
Absolutely not, no.
Wow. Okay, well, that has been so useful. Thank you so much, Philippa, for joining us today. I'm sure all of our learners up and down the country will appreciate your support there massively. So to all of our learners, we really hope that you found this session useful today and that you've taken something away from it. Like Philippa says, if it's maybe perhaps a little bit of a walk, or you want to go for a little kickabout in the park, whatever it is that you need to do to improve your mental health, your mental state and your well-being, just know that we are here to support you throughout your studying needs at Kaplan. And then, of course, you've got the wonderful organisation Shout as well, if you need that additional confidential support. So once again, thank you so much to Philippa, our guest speaker today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for allowing me to.
And we hope you enjoyed the recording. And take care, everyone. And remember, it's okay to not be okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.